Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this planning committee meeting of the Parish Council on Wednesday the 8th of May. I have to say the date now because we're being recorded for YouTube. Welcome everybody. There'll be an opportunity for members of the public to speak to us shortly, but first we need to do some domestic business. So firstly, apologies, and I believe we have apologies from Councillors Carson and Jones.
Yes.
That accounts for all the called members. Item 2 is declarations of interest arising from the agenda. Members and officers are invited to declare any relevant interests. Notwithstanding this item, members may subsequently declare an interest at any point during the meeting. Are there any declarations of interest from members or officers?
No, Chair.
No, thank you. None. Minutes of the previous meeting to receive and confirm the accuracy of the minutes of the planning meeting held on the 17th of April. They have been previously circulated. Is everybody happy that they are accurate and I should sign? Okay, thank you very much. That's unanimous. Well, I'll do so. Just set the date. Still can't look it up. Okay, thank you, John. Okay, item 4 on the agenda is the Planning Committee Project Report, getting it right. To receive and review the project report from the committee clerk. We've all had a chance to see it, is that the one you have in front of you, Councillor Langersby?
It is indeed.
Do you have any comments on it?
I don't believe I do.
Councillor Brown?
No,
Nothing from me either. Thank you for the report, Joe. And item 5 is the public participation session. The meeting will recess for not more than 15 minutes to allow members of the public to address the meeting. I will shortly go through the list of applications inviting comments, and then I will invite comments from anything else on our agenda. But there are rules to this session which I will ask the clerk to read to you.
The Parish Council, via this committee, comments and makes recommendations on planning applications affecting the parish. Proceedings during the public session, which will only exceed 15 minutes in exceptional circumstances, must remain under the control of the chairman, to whom all questions and comments on applications or other planning matters must be addressed. All comments on planning applications should be made to the Head of Planning Management at Winchester City Council.
Oh, thank you. I was just about to ask if somebody would mind shutting the door. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Jeff. Right, so I shall go through the list of planning applications. If you're here for an application, particularly if it's your application, but you don't necessarily want to speak to us, please let us know you're here. Because we changed the order so that people don't have to sit through more than they need to. Yeah. So, let me know when we get to the relevant application. But I'm just saying, if you please let us know, because otherwise you might end up sat here through the other 6, or the other 5. Okay, the first one is number 1: land at the Elms, Tanners Lane, Denmead, for the erection of 11 dwellings with new access from Tanners Lane, associated parking, drainage pumping station and landscaping following demolition of existing outbuildings. Does anybody wish to comment on that one to us, please? Yes? Yeah. Yes.
Want to take comments now?
Yes, this is your opportunity.
Right. Mr. Chairman, you will be aware that the village plan, the period that we're into now, specifically outlines the point of not increasing the traffic on Kidmore Lane. And when Mrs. Charles Church put in the plan for the what was Carpenter Field development, provision was made for access to land which an owner wished to be planned later, and provision was made for that access to the land. I see now that the full planning application for that land does not show the use of the Anmore Road access, but the use of Tanner's Lane. You will be aware that Tanner's Lane is really a single track road with quite deep ditches on each side, and the traffic egresses along Kidmore Lane. I've noticed the increase in traffic in Kidmore Lane since I've been there in the mid-70s, that I used to take 3 strokes of a lawnmower to cut the grass verge. The various vehicles that have gone up there now have reduced my bit of grass to 1 cut, and other vehicles going in and out of the car park seem to think they can sweep into the ditch, which does often happen. The increase of traffic by not using what was planned for Anmore Road is completely against the village plan. So I feel the applicants should revise their plan to follow the earlier proposals.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Any comments from councillors? Anybody else wish to comment on that application? Yes, Brad.
I live in White Horse Lane, so will be directly impacted with the increase in traffic flow in and out every day into the village. And as this gentleman says, it is wholly unsuitable for access from Tanner's Lane. There are walkers, dog walkers, mums with prams that regularly use that, and there are ditches either side, so you've got very little area that you can take refuge from vehicles. And that, it's bad enough when, if it went through once it was developed, but the thought of construction traffic going in there is just absolutely beyond comprehension. And the other thing that I am concerned about as a local resident is that we only found out by sheer chance this development, and I see that the application went in February and was validated on the 8th of April. Now, I'd be interested to know if the parish council have followed Winchester guidelines in notifying those residents that will be affected, particularly those in the local vicinity, and have notices being posted, because we have only recently seen in the last few days a planning application notice put up outside the proposed access, which is directly opposite the new nature reserve. And also the other thing, that is the start of the Denmead Millennium Trail. So I think the importance of preserving the character of that area, with the installation of the nature reserve for walkers, I think it's really important. And the last thing that I can think of right now, anyway, am I correct in thinking that the deadline for lodging your objections is tomorrow?
13th.
It's the 13th, which, as I say, as a local resident that found out by sheer chance, I think is wholly unacceptable.
We had a letter Saturday.
Pardon?
We had a letter Saturday.
Sorry, excuse me.
Right next door.
Hello, excuse me.
It's
Through the chair, please.
First,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, even if you're not following Winchester Council's guideline, by sheer common courtesy, I think it would have been very appropriate to send out letters to all people concerned, because I'm not even sure people know about it, to be honest with you.
Well, there are quite a few objections on Winchester's website.
I see that now.
yeah.
How did they find out? By chance?
I don't know. The onus on notifications to people thought to be affected is on Winchester. Winchester send out letters. I don't know how many they did send out. I distributed some notifications of this meeting to the immediate households on Sunday. But I profess I did not go down Edney's Lane. It was nor
But
Kid,
surely
nor Kidmore to that.
It's sheer logic that the people that will be directly affected by this,
Um,
on a day-to-day basis, by should I say, sheer common courtesy, should be notified.
Well, notifications for official planning applications should be done by Winchester. We have all been aware in the past that Winchester have not perhaps done as good a job as we would like, and that's part of the reason why the parish does some distribution. But I know Councillor Langford Smith has a hand up. Yeah, Karen,
Yes, I used to post this on Facebook, on the Devon community pages. I have stopped doing so because one of the people that put in a planning application put in a code of conduct complaint to Winchester saying that I was trying to bias people. So we do what we can.
Okay, but not everybody's on Facebook. Look, I will accept what you're saying, but equally, I think I'd like you to hear what I'm saying in terms of people being fully informed and having a good opportunity to consider all of the proposal and put forward their objections in a timely fashion. And I think it's hard to defend that position.
Councillor Brown.
All of the notifications for the planning meetings are posted in the village centre, in the notice board. So they will be put in there to say that they're...
Yeah, I mean, we do put some notifications out to immediate neighbours of all planning applications. I did 6 to that are discussed tonight on Sunday morning. But the planning authority is the one who should decide who to notify. And as I already said, we have noted in the past that they have...
So do we know who they actually wrote to?
I don't know. A gentleman here said he got a notification on Saturday.
I had, actual letter from Winchester Council probably a week ago, not that long ago, probably about a week ago.
Where are you, sir?
I'm right next door to it, literally right next to the block.
Okay, thank you. So they obviously did send some out. We can't answer for what they did and didn't do, and I suspect they did. They probably did Tanner's Lane and more or less left it at that. To be honest with you.
There was virtually no dwellings on Tanner's Lane, and the people that it will impact is White Horse Lane, Kidmore Lane particularly.
I don't deny your point,
well,
but I'm just saying.
So you can make a note of this,
Yeah.
and I understand what you're saying,
Yeah, but by all means, I suggest you write to the head of planning at Winchester and say, why weren't we notified?
yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, and that doesn't have a deadline in that sense. But
Although there is a deadline for comments.
Comment-
So
for
if
comments,
you-
That's my whole point.
Yeah.
yeah,
You know, just finding out by chance. There are probably a lot of people that don't even know, and there's that window, that opportunity is very short.
sorry,
On
Councillor
that
Langford
basis,
Smith.
I think it should be extended.
Unfortunately, the planning regulations have been changed, so you'll see sometimes orange notices are displayed,
Yeah.
and they're sent out as soon as you put a planning application in. You receive the orange notice,
Yeah.
which you are asked to display in a prominent place. There is no legal requirement for you to display that notice anymore. It used to be a planning requirement,
Yeah.
but that's not a requirement anymore.
Yeah,
So
because,
unfortunately, it's really hard to
That's
let
right, the
people know.
inconvenient truth that people like us that have something to say about it will go unheard because it's convenient, to produce more housing, isn't it? It's very convenient.
Yeah. Sorry, yes, sir.
About wildlife,
Yeah.
I live literally right next door to the plot,
Yeah.
and I can hear owls chirping away in the hedge right below the property, the field, and there's bats flying around. Have anybody done any wildlife research to it?
Well, there's something in the application which talks about slow worms and other things,
But it's not bats or owls. Or,
no,
you know, I was laying in bed and you hear the owls, and you look out the window, you see the bats flying around.
yeah, have you or are you going to tell Winchester this?
We have put the tow down.
Yeah, thank you.
But also taking notice.
Yeah,
you know,
well,
yeah.
every comment should be taken note of. Sorry, that's
Can
mine.
I just say, I know Kidmore Lane, at the bottom of it, it says unsuitable for HGVs. We get milk tankers going up there at 60, 70 miles an hour. So if we get construction traffic going up, or even other people's cars up to Palace Lane, are they going to slow down to stop killing children that are running across the road to go into the ponds, or is that going to be, you can do whatever speed you like and...
Oh, I can't answer that question because it's not. Yeah. Well, we haven't at the moment discussing the application. I don't want to appear to prejudge that, but yeah, I mean, we're aware of we all live in the village. We're aware of what the situation is like for the traffic.
And the other question I had was, if the 11 houses are granted, do they come off the number that we have to, as a village, build for the Denby plan?
They are in that piece of land was in the current Denby neighbourhood plan. So that if it is granted, then that number will go towards the number that was allocated in the previous version, the current version of the neighbourhood plan. We are currently in this, as anybody who's read Denmead Scene for the last 3 years will know that I keep saying we are in discussion with Winchester about how many more they want us to have and how many more we don't want to have. But these, because that is actually one of the allocated sites, would count towards the last neighbourhood plan's allocation. And the fact that the application doesn't match the number allocated in the neighbourhood plan means that there would be a shortfall on the neighbourhood plan by that amount. But we don't know yet the outcome of this application. Anybody else on that one?
Excuse me, I will show something in a minute. There's one thing that I don't believe that access from Towers Lane will meet the statutory requirements of the fire and emergency services in terms of accessing that site.
You raise an interesting point because they aren't consulted.
Yeah. Well, they are.
It should be, shouldn't they?
I'm not denying that they perhaps ought to be, but they aren't. Sorry, Councillor Smith.
Chair, sorry. The Highways Department, Hampshire County Council Highways Department are consulted, and they have to take into consideration all of the requirements of things like emergency access, etc., visibility displays. So if hedgerow needs to be taken out to ensure that there is sufficient visibility, that's the responsibility of Hampshire Highways, and they are a statutory consultee.
And they have commented, I think.
Yeah, I'll say something. I noticed on the original planning, when you refused, the council, Winchester, refused any openings onto Tanners Lane, there was, one of the things that was stated, it would be extremely dangerous to have an opening. You've now got lots of children, that are cycling around, and they're cycling through. I believe there should have only been one gap from Tanners Lane into the Carpenter's estate. There is now two.
No, it was always two planned. Yeah, one the straight footpath down through, and one to opposite the public open space. That's always.
If that was the case, I also understand that they should have been kissing gates, not a bit of wood on one of them. Which aren't there, and of course you've got the children now circling around as a loop on their bikes. But they come out there, run out of there, and these are small children. They're not big children. There aren't adults because you probably a parent yourself.
That's
children go off and do their own thing. It's an accident waiting to happen. And as I said, originally the access was going to be refused because it was streaming.
There was an application to put road access there, and that was turned down.
Yeah,
but there was meant to.
Technically, it's going to be a road access.
No, I mean the two. No, I'm talking about the two on Carpenters.
Right.
Yeah, they were both there was at one point a request to have a road access there as well, and that was turned down. It was just 2 footpaths, and then the wooden post in one of them was put in because people started driving into it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
A bit like that in the road and fits a car.
Anyway, okay. Anyway, I'm conscious. If you got anything more, sorry, but
Okay.
I'm conscious we need to got another 5 to ask about as well.
So my other, I agree totally with this lady over here, gentleman in the back of the body. Then you've now got in the Scout Hut a nursery. You have permanently parents up and down Pigmore Lane. It is, I've been there nearly 20 years, and it's got busier and busier as every boy in your estate. Any person that lives in that new estate is going to come up, obviously going to go down Commons, but the family that live there now, they use camp. Not many people. So all the construction is going to go there, and that is not really isn't conducive to any health and safety that is
Okay.
that is
Yeah.
required. One other thing though.
Yeah. Is it a different thing?
Yeah, it is. Well, I want to know because very few people knew about this plan. I found out by chance. Can Winchester be requested to extend the deadline of this? Is it something they will do? We contact them.
I'm not sure I can. I know the answer to that. Councillor Langford Smith might.
I don't know the answer to that. All I can say is try. Very occasionally they will extend the consultation period if the parish council have not been able. So we have a planning meeting every 3 weeks, and if it falls just before our planning meeting, Joe always asks if we can have an extension. But we're a statutory consultee, so whether they will do that for members of the public who feel that they, that it's been a little, I wouldn't say duplicitous, but it's not been publicised very widely. I don't know. I would think probably not.
But can I ask you, acting on our behalf after what you've heard today, whether you can actually ask for an extension?
We wouldn't be able to because we're having a meeting and our comments will go back tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we can only comment on the
I know.
Extension in your comments.
I note Councillor Brown had his hand up, and I do have a comment to make as well.
It already has had an extension. It was extension to the 9th of May already.
Yeah.
That makes it even more of a nonsense then.
Yeah. Well, it's extended to the 9th of May for us, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. What I will say to members of the public who are here, and there are a reasonable number of you, if there are more, and there already are, more than 8 comments on the planning application, and I've lost count of how many there are on this one.
22, I think I've just counted.
Sorry?
I think it was 22 I've just counted.
Including 4 in favour, but I think only 4 so far. If there's more than 8, and there is in this case, then that decision will go to the planning committee at Winchester. It won't be done by the case officer, which basically means it's just that you then have an opportunity, albeit a very short one, 3 minutes amongst everybody who turns up, to comment on that to the Winchester Planning Committee. So
What
if
about petitions?
sorry,
What about petitions?
they only count as one.
You can have 1,000 signatures and they still only count as one objection.
Yeah, and likewise, if you do a set letter response, they will only count that as one because it's 2 minutes. It's all the same.
I don't know how any of the others feel, but I think it's time that we contacted the NEB regarding this.
Yeah, but I mean, we're stuck with what we are allowed to do.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I can see that
Yeah.
there's limitations
Yeah,
to
but
what you can do.
there's enough people here, and there's enough people already commented that should the officer be minded to pass this application, which isn't guaranteed, of course, it would then, because of the number of a number of people who have commented, doesn't matter if they're supporting or against, because of that number, it should go to the committee. Yeah, sorry, I'm aware I need to get on.
Yeah, is there a set number of houses being built that you then have to have like a public display of what's going to be built and consultation? So is it over a certain, like over 20 houses or over 30 houses?
I don't know if there is any. I think.
It's
I
almost
don't,
like a little estate, isn't it?
well, yeah. I don't know as there is. Certainly, I don't think there's any statutory number which says you must have a public display of it or a public meeting. In fact, I mean, this is a fairly small development. It's not for those. It's not for the people affected. I appreciate, but I mean, it was a struggle to get Carpenter's Field actually to have a display of what was going to happen, which I think ended up in the Memorial Hall. But, that was a struggle to get that through. That done anyway. Thank you. I'm not trying to. If there's anybody got any different comment about that one, then please let me tell me now. Otherwise, we need to move on to the other applications. So number 2 is Cat Bells at 4 Inhams Lane for a roof extensions, including front dormer window to provide first floor accommodation, side extensions and porch canopy, following removal and finishing of existing detached garages. Attached garage. Does anybody wish to comment on that one? No? Okay, thank you.
Chair.
Yeah, sorry.
Just to let people know, this is the public session still, so this is your opportunity to speak. At the end of this, we go into a closed session and then the councillors discuss each of the applications in turn.
Yeah.
So I didn't want you to think that it's over. We still have to discuss.
And you don't have to leave. You're quite
You
welcome.
don't have to stay.
You don't have to stay either, but you could. Yeah, you don't. Yeah. Anyway, where are we? Number.
Excuse me, Chairman, could you
Yeah.
have a window?
I'll ask the only person
It's tall enough.
to do so. Where are we? Sorry. Number 2, Cat Bells, 4 Inhams Lane, roof extensions. Anybody wishing to comment on 4 Inhams Lane? No. Okay. Number 3 is Mr. George's application at 24 Anthill Close for a rear single-storey extension. Anybody wish to comment on that one?
That's our one.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I never like to shut that to limit this session, even though it's supposed to be only 15 minutes. But number 1 is exceptional. Case number 4 is for the left-hand side of the old post office on Hamilton Road to prune a oak tree which is touching the roof. Anybody want to comment on that one? No. Okay. Number 5 is Mrs. Ellis's application at Highcroft, Upper Crabbick Lane, demolition of conservatory and construction of a single-storey rear extension with extended raised terrace and a tiled canopy to the front of the building. Anybody here wishing to comment on that one? No? Okay, thank you. And number 6 is Mr. G. Clark's application at Pybers Ash, 2 Inhams Lane, construction of a store and carport. Anybody want for that one?
That's myself, and I think need to be said. So.
Okay, yeah. Thought I recognised you, sir.
I'm with
Okay, so with members' approval, then we will do these in order of number 1, number 3, and number 6, and then go back to the others. So number 1 is land at the Elms, Tanner's Lane, which most of our correspondents have.
We're going to discuss yours in a second.
Are you going to?
Oh,
Oh
yes.
yeah.
They come in turn, that's what the chair said just now.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so first we'll discuss number 1 because that's the one that was most comments on, which is election of 11 dwellings at the Elms, Tanner's Lane, and it's for with new access on Tanners Lane, associated parking, a drainage pumping station and landscaping following demolition of existing outbuildings. I think the first one, Councillor Langford Smith, would be the block plan. As most of us here are...
I'm just trying to find the block plan.
What's that now?
Yeah, I think the other one was better. Yeah, that's the site. But there is a similar one showing the housing layout, which is.
Is that the plots?
No, I think I'm sure there was one that I looked up. I was looking at earlier. Was labelled block plan.
Can't see block plan
There is one about halfway down to the block plans. Block of the site.
there. Block plan of the site.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. There we go. So the grey placed the grey building up to the top right is the Elms, the house that's staying. The other grey buildings are on Carpenter's Field development. So that shows the application with access off Tanners Lane and 11 dwellings and a sewage pumping station, a foul water pumping station. It's described as. There are 6 houses to the southern boundary, which are a mix of 2 and 3 bed, I think, and then there's the rest of them are along the access road, which are a mixture of, again, I think, or mostly 3 bed, I think. There is a street scene, which I don't think is particularly useful, but we could have a look at. If we look at that, that's the various street scenes they provided, what it would look like from various angles, from east to west, facing north to Tanners Lane, from in front of the houses. But basically, that's the thing. They're basically saying that foul water needs to be pumped, and they intend to pump it down to the sewer at Edney's Lane. So it's not going to go down into the Hamilton Road one, which Carpenter's Field did. The planning statement says they put the planning application in and showing it accessing via Tanners Lane because due to the fact they'd have to pay to access the road that was put in specifically by Persimmon on the insistence of the neighbourhood plan people and the parish council to put in an access to that site. The applicant is saying, well, effectively, I think it would be reasonably fair to assume the applicant is saying he doesn't want to pay Persimmon for access. And therefore it's going to cost money, and therefore they want to go via Tanners Lane. They have provided a traffic assessment which says, it's only going to be about 50 extra I think it was 50 extra. I think that was a bit optimistic, because I think it was 50 a week extra vehicle journeys. Sorry, we're now in private session, and I personally find that one a bit odd. I note today that when I looked to check at lunchtime for any more objections, and there are quite a few, that there's also a tree officer report, and the tree officer objects to the planning application because of the significant loss of trees and the risk to some oaks and the loss of, I can't remember which other species. Councillor Brown, sorry.
Just to say about the there's no highways report. Hampshire Highways.
No, there's one that came in from the highways engineer.
Yes.
On behalf of the applicant, but so far no highways report. There are, for members' notification, there are 2 sealed reports, one of which says there are no affordable housing and the other one says there are, because they're saying that some of the housing will be affordable. Basically, as we all know, and it's already been mentioned by members of the public, access to this will be either up Kidmore Lane and Tanner's Lane, or Edney's Lane, White Horse Lane and Tanner's Lane. I won't say any more than that at the moment, because I'm still basically trying to give the facts of the matter. I'm not sure which one you've got up there, Councillor.
This is the landscape officer, open space officer, Stuart Dunbar-Dempsey.
I'm trying to remember what he said. I know the tree officer was objecting.
Yes, so it's about the trees, and then also about the doesn't provide adequate amenity space, and also significantly the access from Tanner's Lane.
Yeah, yes, you can. There is one of our visitors mentioned the owls and bats, of which there is nothing I could see there. They did mention they found a few slow worms. There was very little mention of great crested newts, if any, and yet we well know that Carpenter's development had to do great crested newt barriers, rescue great crested newts, and the 2 large ponds on the northern open space are there for the great crested newts as well as for drainage. So, Councillor Langford-Smith.
Chair, I also note the neighbourhood plan states that this site is allocated for bungalows as well as 2 and 3 bedroom dwellings, and there is no provision for bungalows.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Brown,
I seem to remember there was also a suds tank that they are.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I forgot to mention, yes, there is sustainable urban drainage to take the surface water, which it was also done at Carpenter's Field. I'm struggling to think of anything more that we can mention in terms of the actual facts of the matter. Anything from either of you? No. Going on to opinion then, I think. Who wants to start? Councillor Langford-Smith?
This site's wholly unsuitable with the access on Tanner's Lane. The Carpenter's Field development was very carefully considered, and the road access through to this site is already in situ. It's provided, as can be seen on the location plan. This here was supposed to be the access to that site. And it's perfectly plausible for that site to be developed with access using that and taking account of the significant oak trees. It just needs a sensitive development, and I don't believe this, in my opinion, is a sensitive development.
If you switch to the other view, which shows where the houses are going, the 6 of the proposed 11 houses are actually right in the way of that access. As our visitors have already noted, and we know ourselves, Kidmore, Tanner's, White Horse and Edney's lanes are all narrow lanes. Kidmore probably not quite as narrow, as was pointed out, mainly due to lorry traffic, is not quite as narrow as the other 3, but totally unsuitable for, in my opinion, for increased traffic and let alone construction. But I think you pulled up the neighbourhood plan just now, Councillor Langford-Smith, and it did actually specify that site specifically.
Just got to find it. Hope that's not it. There
we go. about 20 dwellings on land off Tanner's Lane, comprising a mix of 2 and 3 bed houses and bungalows to be delivered in the period 2019 to 2031, provided the scheme A is accessed from the land east of the village centre scheme only. Design forms a distinctive development parcel to the adjoining land from the east of the village centre site, and it retains the landscape buffer to Tanner's Lane and provides a buffer to the open countryside to the east.
And the facts of the matter are, Chair, it does none of those things.
No, and in fact, the landscape buffer to Tanner's Lane has not long back been removed, which we noted on a different planning application. Yes, Councillor Smith.
The other aspect on a safety basis is that this site is located directly opposite the new public open space, which is put there as a public amenity for everybody in the village to use.
Yep.
It's also very close to the South Downs National Park, and we're trying to encourage people to get out and have a more healthy lifestyle, and I think that this actually makes it dangerous to access the public open space off the site.
And at some point in the not too distant future, very close to the eastern access, footpath access from Carpenter's Field, which is directly opposite the northern open space, there will also be a children's play area.
Absolutely.
Which is due to go in once the land transfers to the parish council, and we can actually put the play area in. So I think we are in agreement with our visitors in actual fact that though they say this is part of the neighbourhood plan, it goes against the neighbourhood plan. Because the neighbourhood plan says it should be accessed from what is Carpenter's Field development.
It says only, actually.
Yeah, it says from the scheme only. So I think that's a reason for us to give it that, and the safety aspects of the access roads are a reason for us to make I would suggest a strong objection with a request for it to go to committee. To make sure it goes to committee, and we will ask our district councillors to also ask for it to go to committee. So how are we doing with the reasoning, Joe? Yeah. So we so it's not following the neighbourhood plan. It's not the village's problem that the landowner does not wish to. Shall we say, negotiate successfully with Persimmon.
It also doesn't show any biodiversity net gain, which is another key planning issue.
Oh, yeah, well remembered. Just waiting while Joe notes that one down. So basically. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Councillor Brown.
I think also some of the points that were brought up by the members of the public about construction traffic, the fire emergency access, if it was to be built. There is no highways report in the application from Hampshire Highways.
And insufficient wildlife report.
Yeah, mainly pointing out the fact that they say there were no Great Christian Ewes, yet there are in the field next door.
Yeah, and the field across the road.
Yeah.
I think that's a fairly hefty list. Anything else? Anything else from anybody? Right, formal show of hands then for a strong objection with a request for a committee on all those grounds. Joe has been scribbling away womanfully. So, okay, so we are strongly objecting, ladies and gentlemen, which I think you've probably anticipated we would, but we had to discuss it first. So we move on then. Those of you who wish to leave now, please do so relatively quietly.
Can we just say we were number 2 at so we didn't actually press around.
Oh, you didn't say it. Okay. Sorry, I didn't.
We're quite shy, but you. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. You didn't have to speak to us. Just let us know that you were in here for that one. Yeah. Okay, thank you. All right, well, are we happy to do cat bells next then, as they are here? Apologise to the other people waiting, but cat bells is 4 Inhams Lane, and I think the only thing we really need, Councillor Langford-Smith, is that one, which is labelled as a location plan. At the moment, it is a bungalow with a fairly highly pitched roof. And the application, as you see before you, lady and gentlemen, is a new porch and an extension into the roof, and along the side to give rooms in the roof. Not a lot else we can say. It involves the removal of a garage, which is adjoining the neighbour's garage, but that's not a planning consideration. That's party wall consideration, which is a civil matter between the two owners. And that's basically it. It's an extension into the roof. It's an extension of the roof somewhat, front to rear and to the side, as you can see from those drawings. And the facts of the matter are that there is precedent in Inhams Lane insofar as number 1 has been extended and number 2 has planning and permission to actually demolish the house and build a new bigger one. That's thank you, Councillor. Like I said, zooming in on that bit shows the roof alterations rather well. Sorry, you've got a comment, Councillor Brown?
The next door house has already had a roof extension, the house next door to it, and next door one is a double-storey house as well.
Yeah, okay, thank you. As I say, there would appear to be precedent in the road. I think other facts and it shows their parking spaces. And obviously they're removing the garage, but they're showing they got room for 3 cars. Getting them in and out might be fun, but that's not a problem. Councillor Langford-Smith?
May I be permitted to ask a question of the residents?
Yes, I happen to open the
Could you just explain the gap either side of the house? Have you got enough room to get bins through?
Yeah, 1.2 down the side on where the extension is.
Okay.
Which should be wide enough.
Yeah.
Slightly wider on the other side.
Okay, thank you. So that's the facts. Opinion? Councillor Brown?
I see no planning reason to object.
If that's a proposal, I'll second it, because likewise I can see no reason under planning to object. I'm going to show of hands then for those who have no objection. That's unanimous. Thank you. Good luck, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. Now which means we're going to shove Mr. Clark a bit further back. Sorry about that. Mr. K. George, 24 Anthill Close, single-storey rear extension. Again, location plan is sufficient, Councillor Langford-Smith, for us to look at. You go into Anthill Close, you wind your way round to the right, and on your left, as you can see there, where there's a turning head, there is number 24, and the little red square at the back is the proposed extension. And I don't think there's anything much more to say, really. I notified the neighbours and the one behind that would possibly overlook it. It's a rear single-storey extension. So, anybody got any comments? No. Proposed then, we have no objection. Unanimous and no objection. Good luck with that one. And we now move on to Mr. Clark. Piper's Ash 2 Inhams Lane, who's visiting us again, for a construction of a store and carport at 2 Inhams Lane. Sorry, block plan I'll do with that one as well, I think. Councillor Langford Smith. Yep. The application, as we said, is construction of a store and carport. That's where it is. There is a diagram showing carport on one end and store on the other. Actually, I can't remember which one it is now. Yeah, there we go. Store and carport facing the driveway, effectively. That's the application. Questions on facts?
Is there no information on height?
No. Having read so much this week, I can't remember. I apologise.
No.
Okay. It's not actually on there. It's not particularly drawn to scale, I don't think. No scale drop shown. So. Okay. Well, I'm happy to, if you wish, to ask the applicant if he knows offhand how tall it is.
It should be no more than 3 metres, but the neighbours that we back onto, number one, we get on very well with them, and we're very aware that the view that they have. So we're making sure that it's way less than 3 metres. So we're going in between 2.4 and 2.6. So when they look out, they can still see over the top of the carport to the fields down there in the lane.
Okay, thank you very much.
The height should be on there. If it was done, I had a lot of money for it to be there. Why it's not, I can't answer that, I'm afraid.
Okay, well, thank you. Opinions, lady and gent? Councillor Brown?
Whilst I've supported other things on this site, I object to the carport and store purely by its location. It's hard up against the front boundary of the property. The only other garage stroke carport in that road is separated back and looks like a barn rather than this, which is a flat roof. I understand to try and keep views for the neighbours. It's a flat roof building that is very front of the property.
My thought is, you look at the row of bungalows, some of which have been extended along that road. That is the only one which will have anything in front of the building line until you get down to
the one next to Inham's farmhouse.
Yeah, well, Inham's farmhouse, of course, because that's got a wall that comes out to the front, and then the one next but one to Inham's farmhouse. So, that was a concern. Councillor Langford Smith.
I'm looking at all of the applications that we've had along this stretch, and whilst I know we're only looking at this application, then we recently had an application for walls to be built here. So the cumulative effect of the removal of hedgerow, the construction of hard landscaping in the form of walls, and now a carport and garage at the very front of the property, I think it's changing the street scene significantly.
And application 2201-085 FUL, which is for the for this plot, which was agreed in 2022, not 1922. 2022, which was for the demolition of effectively all the buildings there, including the garage that's currently there. So that didn't seem to have been thought of or included at the time of that application. I mean, it may when that one will go ahead is not our problem. So I think we're all agreed that we're not happy to have something that far in front of the building line on that road. Is that your opinion?
Yes.
So then I think the wall has been approved.
Yeah.
I think it's on the list. So basically, I think we have a proposal that we object to this on the grounds that it is affecting the street scene and is the only item in the in front of the building line along that row of dwellings. We happy to make that comment. Show of hands. That's unanimous. You okay with that one, Joe? Okay. Sorry, Mr. Clark. We didn't like that one. Where are we? Back to number 4. The left-hand side of the old post office, Hambledon Road. An oak tree with a TPO, a lateral reduction of limbs on tree brushing against building and causing damage to roof tiles, reduced by 2 metres to provide sufficient clearance to the building. All were to be in accordance with British Standard Code of Practice, and I took some photographs which Councillor Langford-Smith is showing. There's the left-hand side of the building. That's from the other side, the right-hand side. So the first one.
Sorry, technical glitch, Karen.
Yeah, the first one is from Glasstec side, which is the applicant, I would assume, the left-hand side, and the other 2 are from the side of the funeral directors. And you can see it's a fairly substantial tree, and it's not easy to see, but you can appreciate that. We can't tell from the foreshortening in that photograph whether it is actually touching the roof, but they're saying it is and asking permission to prune it. Councillor Brown?
I propose we leave it to Winchester's tree officer.
Okay, seconded. Councillor Langford-Smith, that's unanimous then. We'll leave it to the tree officer. And number 5 then, I think, which is the last one, isn't it? Mrs. C. Ellis's application at Highcraft, Upper Clavick Lane, demolition of a conservatory and construction of single-storey rear extension with extended raised terrace and tiled canopy to the front of the dwelling. And we have a location block plan is probably, and also the proposed drawings. But the location block plan shows, I think there's one labelled location block plan.
That's the one I just opened.
Yeah.
Oh, and you scroll down, hold on.
Yeah, okay, there it is, yeah. So, a tiled roof canopy to the front, and then an extension at the back, and an extension to the existing raised terrace. Don't appear to be anybody living there at the moment, but you can see there the dotted line which shows the current raised terrace and the proposal, and that one basically shows the extension with roof lights and extended terrace. Sorry, Councillor Brown.
I was going to make a proposal that we have no planning reason to object to it.
Okay, I'll second that formally. That's unanimous. Thank you. So, we move on to item 7, decisions received. And we have painted board sign outside the Denmead Community Centre, which has been approved because the Denmead Community Centre agreed that it would not be illuminated, which was the only reason we would object. So that's been permitted. Piper's Ash, 2 Inhams Lane, the construction of the staggered brickwork boundary, which we mentioned just now in the other application. I don't know. I'd forgotten to look to see whether the condition we asked for had been put in, but it was passed. Conversion of stables to a dwelling house at Rowell's Dog Park. The lawful development certificate was refused. We objected with a comment giving reasons why it should be refused. So I suspect the next thing will be a planning application.
I think it will be a request for it to go to the inspector and appeal.
Well, it might well be an appeal, I suppose, against the LDC, but okay. And then Cornerstone, at the Cornerstone Mead End, the proposed 3-bedroom, 5-person detached house added to the development that's already built at Cornerstone. That was refused by Winchester, and that went to appeal and was dismissed. And that's it, isn't it? For those. Okay, item 8 is new planning applications. 2 or 3?
4.
Oh, 4. Okay. I've lost count, I must admit. I've seen the emails come in, I've filed them for the next time, and I've lost count. Sale of land at Paddock End is number 9. 2 emails have been received regarding the sale of a piece of land at Paddock End to discuss and determine action. We have the 2 emails, and we also have a plan of the area, I think, in our pack. It's very similar to the piece of land that we saw sold, and then planning application went in for some charging points a few months back. I looked on Parish Online, and that piece of land appears to be part of the highway. So I'm not sure. I did actually suggest that maybe it was part of the highway was being sold off. Sorry, Councillor Langley-Smith.
I did inquire, Chair, because I had members of the public contact me in my role as district councillor, so I did inquire of Hampshire County Council. They advised that the land is within private ownership, and there is a freehold on that parcel of land, so therefore it can be sold, and it isn't Hampshire that's selling it. However, that parcel of land is still subject to highway rights under the control of the County Council as the highway authority, and therefore no works or enclosure of land could be carried out without their permission. It's not uncommon practice with developers, and Hampshire sends standard letters to auctioneers to remind them that the land is subject to highway rights and therefore does not have vacant possession, is the legal terminology.
Oh, well, thank you for that. Because as I say, if you look at the cadastral parcel, it appears to be part of the highway, as did the previous place that was sold and then had charging points put on, or about to have. So we note that then. I don't think there's any there's no further action other than we could ask.
We could ask the auction house to take their signpost off of our street sign.
Well, we could ask the clerk to do that, and we could also respond to the people who wrote to us saying Hampshire have said it is a piece of private land that can be sold, but nothing can be built on it because it's part of the highway.
That's not technically true.
Okay. I'm misquoting what you said.
Yes, without Hampshire's permission.
Okay.
So therefore, if, for example, the person that purchased it wished to install electric vehicle charging points, they could ask Hampshire, put in planning permission to Winchester, and it may well be granted.
Okay. Anyway, we will ask Joe to forward that information to the 2 correspondents. If you would, please, Joe, and by all means ask the auction house to take its sign off our sign. Wasn't really done, but okay. Anything else? Number 10. Sorry, is number 9. The spring receive additional information requested and to rediscuss the parish council's previous objection to the placement of a root barrier on council land. Discuss and determine action. Well, the latest thing is basically saying, please get on with giving us permission because the trees are starting to suck lots of water out of the ground and we need to get on with this quickly. But we do now actually have a diagram showing where they intend putting the barrier, and a not very helpful one showing where they think the utilities go into that area. Councillor Langford-Smith.
In light of the fact that the report says that when they come across utilities,
Yeah.
they seal around it,
Yeah.
I think that we should give permission for the barrier to go ahead, but it should be as close to the property as is possible in order to try and preserve the tree. Furthermore, I wonder if we can ask or advise that if the tree should subsequently die, we can seek compensation for the loss of an ancient tree, which is approximately £20,000.
Well, you got that one, Jim?
Yep.
What we didn't know when we made our initial decision was that Winchester had asked our tree expert for his opinion, and he had recommended the root barrier as opposed to pruning or taking down the tree. So, had Winchester told us that, we might have made a different decision originally. Councillor Brown.
I'd also like to see an access statement from them as to how they are going to access that site, what they're going to do there, and how they're going to reinstate the site after carrying out the works, because they have to go across the green that's there. It's the only way to access it.
I also have concerns about that. They do say they're going to set up a yard at the back of the premises of Nine Spring, but it's a 3.5 ton digger. I'm sure I read 3.5 ton, but it's definitely going down 3.5 metres, so it's going to need to be a sizable piece of equipment.
I doubt whether, I mean, they can set up a yard in the land behind, which is a car park for the residents. I doubt whether a digger sufficient to dig that trench would actually go under the arch. So they are going to have to go around our land. I think, yes, we can say we want more details of their reinstatement. We will give permission, as suggested by Councillor Brown, that it's as close to the house and as far away from the tree as possible. All right, it's all right, sorry, it was Councillor Langford-Smith. And that we want to see be reassured that any digging equipment, etc., going across our land will actually do so with weight spreading covering, so that they're not damaging our land as they approach the dig site. Does that make sense to everybody, especially Joe? Yeah. Councillor Brown.
They obviously would, but also that appropriate fencing needs to be put up because it's a public footpath.
Well, I think they're.
They would have to do it anyway, but
yeah, they've said that in their health and safety. I think.
Question: are you giving permission if those other things are met, on condition that those things are met?
I think we need to give permission. I think we need to say we would request that they do get it as far away from the tree and as close to the house as they can, and that they
like details of that.
And we would like details of that and details of how they intend to carry out that and how they will protect our land.
Mitigate the damage.
Well, they did mitigate the damage to our land as they cross it to make the excavation.
Reinstate.
Oh, well, yeah,
They've detailed that.
They've said they'll reinstate.
Topsoil, that they'll put some grass seed down.
So it's not a condition, you will give it, but they...
Well, I don't think we have any choice, as we know, because if we don't at some point in the near future, then they're going to come back and say, right, you can stop paying for this. Councillor Langford-Smith.
Well, I think it's our land, and we have the right to say how we expect our land to be treated. So we can say, yes, we grant permission and we require this.
Yeah, okay. I'm on. Yes, Councillor Brown.
And also the fact that it's not been proven that the tree has actually caused this damage.
Yeah. Are you okay with all that, Joe? So yes, we give permission provided they protect our land as they cross it, and they do the work as close as possible, or as far as possible away from the tree, I think is the way to put it, as opposed to as close to the house as possible. Yeah. And we okay, so we formally show of hands then. Okay. You okay with that, Jim?
Yep.
Item 11, to discuss and determine action on what content could be added to the Parish Council's social media channels about this meeting.
Matters for the next agenda.
Well, social media is the next one.
Oh, I've got it
Number
written a
11.
different way.
Right, number 11, social media. Number 12 is matters for the agenda. Huh? Well, that's what I've got. That's what I've got. Yeah, thanks for that.
I think we should do social media posts about the lawful development certificate being refused, and that by being duplicitous it doesn't win you rights.
I don't know.
Well, it would obviously be worded appropriately. And also that Cornerstone, the fact that the Parish Council put in a strong objection because of the impact on the street scene. And that was one of the things that it was refused on, proposal on the character and appearance of the area.
Sorry, Councillor Brown.
I was thinking more of the fact of applications and things put on there, rather than, or are we looking at reporting things that have happened on this agenda?
Well, I kind of assumed it would be, and so something on the lines of, we made a strong objection to application 1. We didn't object to application 2, 3, effectively 4 and 5, and objected to 6.
So are you suggesting a summary of
Well,
this evening's planning? That's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean...
And then also, we could also do posts as the applications come in. We could agree as a committee that we post on social media that we've received a planning application for such and such.
Yeah. I don't think we need to necessarily go back over ones that are thing, but I mean, we had a lot of people in tonight over Tanners Lane.
Agreed.
We can now look up and say to the public, we have strongly objected and asked that it go to the District Council's Planning Committee if the officer was going to pass it. So telling them what we've decided, if you like, as opposed to what Winchester have decided.
Mm-hmm.
But are you okay with that Joe? Because I mean, it doesn't need to be a vast amount of detail, I don't think, because we'll stop flooding else. So it's just basically application 1, land at the Elms, Tanners Lane, strong objection. Number 2, 4 Inham's Lane, no objection, things like that.
It might be worth putting the case number on there, so that if the comments haven't closed, then people will be reminded.
Well, I'm aware of. I'm just trying to be aware of how much how much work we're asking Joe to do.
Yeah.
But we are then, I suppose, telling the public what we've been doing and what.
But then it will also knock on to if in future.
Yeah.
The planning applications will go on as a document, effectively, as what's on the agenda. So then, what our decision can be added and then reposted from that.
Yeah.
Which is you're just adding to the document what our decision is then.
Anyway, we'll try it and see what happens, and if it gets too arduous, we'll rethink. Matters for the next agenda. Are there anything? Is there anything, Robin? No. Are there anything?
No, it was never in this section of the meeting that needed to be added for.
I was going to say I've got one for enforcement, but...
Yeah. Okay, well, we probably need that on the other bit of the agenda as well, Joe.
It is.
Okay, yeah, okay, fair enough. Thank you. Sorry. I did read it. Okay. Item 13, confidential report to pass a resolution in accordance with the Public Bodies Commissions and Meetings Act 1960 to exclude the public and press for discussion of related to the following and to receive the confidential report and enforcement report from the committee clerk, enforcement issues and notices, tree reservation orders.
I so moved.